For most of my life, I was treated like the daughter who never measured up. The final proof of that came on the day my older sister tried to take control of an inheritance that was legally half mine. She walked into a courthouse expecting another easy victory. Instead, that day exposed years of lies, arrogance, and secrets she never imagined would come to light. My name is Harper Vaughn, and growing up in my family felt like living in someone else's shadow. My sister Savannah was 7 years older and seemed born to succeed. She was brilliant, confident, and knew exactly how to impress people. By the time she reached her late 30s, she was already a respected attorney with an impressive reputation. Every family gathering turned into another celebration of her accomplishments, while my own life was reduced to a cautionary example of what not to become. When I left college after my first year, my parents acted as though I had permanently failed. My mother called me fragile, my father called me impractical. Savannah never missed an opportunity to remind me that not everyone was cut out for important careers. She always delivered those comments with a smile that somehow made them sting even more. Eventually, I stopped defending myself. It was easier to let everyone believe their version of my story than explain the truth. What none of them knew was that dropping out had not ended my education. I transferred schools, worked exhausting jobs, attended night classes, and rebuilt my future piece by piece. Years later, I passed the bar exam on my first attempt and began working in legal ethics for the state attorney general's office. My job focused on investigating misconduct, fraud, and professional violations committed by attorneys. While my family continued viewing me as the failure, I quietly built a career uncovering deception hiding behind expensive suits and polished reputations. 3 years before the courthouse hearing, a familiar name appeared in one of our files. It was Savannah. At first it was a minor complaint involving suspicious billing practices. Then another complaint arrived. After that came documents, emails, and evidence that painted a troubling picture. Eventually a formal investigation opened. Because of confidentiality rules, I never discussed it with anyone, but the knowledge sat heavily in the back of my mind. The sister my family admired so much was being scrutinized for serious ethical violations. Everything became personal when our grandmother passed away. She left behind an estate that was divided equally between Savannah and me. The arrangement was simple and clear. Grandma loved us both and wanted fairness, but Savannah saw equality as an insult. Only a few weeks after the funeral, she filed legal papers challenging the will. Her argument was not just that she deserved more. She claimed I was incapable of responsibly managing money and that she should be given authority over my share. When I received the court notice, I was not surprised. Savannah had spent years convincing people that I was incapable. What she did not know was that I had spent years preparing for exactly the kind of manipulation she specialized in. I hired an experienced attorney named Delaney Brooks and gathered documentation that reached far beyond the inheritance dispute itself. While Savannah assumed I would panic or surrender, I quietly prepared for a fight she never saw coming. The hearing began on a Tuesday morning. Savannah arrived surrounded by lawyers and supporters, wearing the same confident expression she had carried her entire life. Her legal team called witnesses who claimed our grandmother had become confused during her final years. One cousin insisted Grandma could barely remember conversations. Within minutes, Delaney exposed inconsistencies in his testimony. Another witness suggested my frequent visits to Grandma were suspicious. Under questioning, she admitted I had visited every week for nearly a decade, long before any inheritance was discussed. During a break, Savannah cornered me in the hallway. She spoke softly, careful not to attract attention. She told me I should settle before things became embarrassing. According to her, she would act as trustee, manage the money, and provide me with an allowance whenever I needed it. The offer sounded less like a compromise and more like a final attempt to establish control. When I questioned whether she managed her clients' affairs the same way, her expression instantly hardened. The afternoon session brought even more accusations. Their financial expert tried to portray me as reckless and irresponsible. Delaney patiently allowed him to present his conclusions before asking a simple question. Had I ever missed loan payments, defaulted on obligations, or experienced financial penalties? The answer was no. The courtroom grew noticeably quieter. For the first time, I saw uncertainty appear on Savannah's side of the room as their carefully constructed narrative began falling apart. Then came their biggest attack. Another relative submitted a sworn statement claiming I had manipulated Grandma by repeatedly telling her Savannah did not care about her. According to the affidavit, those conversations influenced the decision to divide the estate equally. It was a complete fabrication. Delaney responded by calling me to the witness stand. After taking the oath, I calmly described my relationship with Grandma. We discussed books, gardening, family memories, and everyday life. Money was almost never part of those conversations. Then Delaney asked a question nobody in that courtroom expected. She asked me to state my occupation for the record. A strange silence settled over the room as I explained that I was a senior legal ethics investigator and also served on the disciplinary board overseeing attorney conduct within the state. The reaction was immediate. Savannah's face lost all color. The judge leaned forward with obvious interest. Suddenly the assumptions everyone had made about me no longer matched reality. When Delaney asked whether I had encountered Savannah professionally, her attorneys objected immediately. The judge overruled them. I explained that Savannah was currently the subject of an active ethics investigation involving allegations of inflated billing and conflicts of interest. Delaney presented authorization, allowing limited disclosure, because my professional qualifications and credibility had been challenged during the proceeding. The entire atmosphere inside the courtroom shifted. What had begun as an attack on my competence was rapidly becoming an examination of Savannah's conduct. The final blow came when I revealed something I had never expected to use. For 2 years, with Grandma's full permission, I had recorded many of our visits and carefully organized them for family history purposes. The recordings showed no attempts to influence her decisions, no manipulation, and no conversations matching the accusations contained in the affidavit. The judge reviewed portions of the evidence and quickly reached her conclusion: the case was dismissed. Costs were awarded in my favor, and the questionable affidavit was referred for further review. After the courtroom emptied, my parents approached me looking stunned and ashamed. For years they had accepted a version of me that was convenient rather than true. Savannah finally stepped forward and admitted she had never known about my career. Her voice sounded smaller than I had ever heard it. I simply told her that she never bothered to ask. Her downfall was not caused by a surprise revelation. It happened because she built her case on lies. Outside the courthouse, sunlight spilled across the steps as though the world suddenly felt lighter. My attorney congratulated me, and for the first time since my grandmother's death, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. A message arrived on my phone moments later confirming that formal disciplinary charges against Savannah would move forward. I stared at the screen for several seconds before putting it away. For most of my life, I had lived beneath my sister's shadow. That day, I realized the shadow was no longer in front of me. It was finally behind me.